Hello guys, brokerage experts you can trust. That's funny. Okay, what I'm going to talk about here, this is on my, I'm just running to the end now of my 15 videos of why I would never do business with the Multihull Company again. And as many of you know, I made a series of 15 videos for a boat that was to sell. The Multihull Company was supposed to pay me a commission on their commission, and then when the time came, they just refused to pay and refused to communicate, and actually sent me a lot of emails that I consider to be really false, and that's what this whole series has been about. But now I'm gonna talk about something almost completely different here, and this is probably, it's going to be a longer video. All the rest of the videos are about 2 minutes. This one's a little bit longer, and it's probably more important than all the rest of the videos, and it has nothing to do with my case, actually, with the complaint that I had against the Multihull Company. And instead, I'm going to relate to you the performance of the Multihull Company, and this is my observation. So I've been with the Multihull Company through about 3 different sales now, and on 2 of the sales I was just on the periphery because my job has been yacht captain, and so I move boats around, and I take boats and put them into charter. And so specifically, typically what happens is somebody buys a boat and they really like the boat, and then they see how much it costs, and eventually they say, can't I get a few charters and do something with this boat to kind of offset the running costs? And that's where I come in. Is I come into a boat at that point, my wife and I, and we take it over and try to make to offset the running costs with charters, and see if we can mitigate some of that hemorrhaging of money, as some people call it. Hemorrhaging of money. Yeah, I like that term. So what happened was, I'm going to talk about 3 different sales that I watched the Multihull Company and Phil Berman sell and manage. And 2 of them I was kind of on the periphery, and then the one that was the boat that I have my little umbrage about, was the boat that I didn't get paid upon, and that's the one that I did the videos on, and I put a lot of work into that, and that was and then the Multihull Company. Well, you'll see. That's all the rest of the videos, and you can watch those, and you can see all the untruths and untrustworthiness in there. But what I'm going to talk about now is actually their performance in selling a boat. So the first time that I met up with the Multihull Company, I was running a 58-foot cat around the South Pacific, and we were going between New Zealand and Tonga and the French South Pacific, kind of like out to the Tuamotus, and then back to Tonga, then back to the Tuamotus again. And that little route that I just gave you, that was, I think we did that for about 18 months. And we did quite a lot of charters in there between Tonga and the French South Pacific. And then about the end of that, the owner just decided it was time to sell the boat. So when he did, he turned the sale of the boat over to the Multihull Company. I turned the boat over to the deckhand because it wasn't doing charters anymore, and we put the boat at a dock in French Polynesia and left. And so then I just kind of kept an eye on the boat because, I was done with the boat, but I kind of kept an eye on it, and the boat just sat and didn't sell and didn't sell and didn't sell and didn't sell, and it just kept going. And I was just kind of thinking to myself at the time, wow, that's a lot of money that owner is putting out to keep that boat up and operational. And too bad he didn't, I guess, keep the boat in charter, or at least maybe, well, I don't know. And so because the boat wasn't selling, I didn't really put it together, well, that's a Multihull fault, because, it's a one-off. It's just one boat. It isn't selling. I didn't really have a reason to why the boat wasn't selling. I kind of thought to myself, well, it's out in the French Pacific. I mean, who's going to go out there to buy a boat? So that was kind of on my mind. But eventually what happened was the owner got tired of the boat not selling, and they finally gave up. And Phil and the Multihull Company were taken off, and a new broker came in, and the boat sold. So I didn't think too much of it because, it's a lot of stuff happens in luck in selling of a boat. So I was kind of thinking to myself, well, maybe maybe it was just luck. Okay, so now fast forward a few years, and my wife and I were running a 92-foot monohull. And same thing, the time comes, the owner decides, we'd been on it for, I don't know, another 18 months or so, and the owner decided, that's it, I'm just getting rid of this boat. So he sends us to Mallorca to sell the boat. So we take the boat, this 92-foot monohull, a well-known boat, very well-known boat, very famous boat, and we take that and we take it to Mallorca, and we bring it to the broker, and he comes on board, looks at it, gives us a list of things. You know, you guys got to do this and this and this to get the boat sold. And all right, so I take the list and off we go. He comes back a couple days later and he says, "Oh, you did all that." I'm like, "Yeah, well, you know, you want to sell the boat and it's all there." So he then says, he goes, "Look at that." He goes, "There's a 92-foot catamaran that just came in, and I have that to sell. I just got that as a listing." And I was like, "Oh, wow, that's a big, beautiful boat. Look at that." And so then he was just kind of talking to himself, almost like almost like as if I wasn't there. And he's going, "You know," he goes, "that the boat has a owner's cabin layout. So I kind of need to find like a grandpa who wants to take his kids and his grandkids and kind of reunite with them, and a grandpa who just sold his business and made a lot of money." And he was just kind of talking to himself at this point, and I was just, you know, just kind of standing there listening to him. And he goes, "And then, you know, we'll need a crew. A boat like that, we'll have to have a crew that runs it for the owner." And then he looks, he says, "Hey, you're selling." He goes, "I think I almost have your boat sold too." He goes, why don't you be the crew for that boat?" You know, you hear this all the time. I was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever. Yeah, I'll crew that boat." Well, here's the thing. He comes back about a week later, and he says, "Okay," he says, "I think I have that boat sold." He says, so you'll be the crew, and I'll set you up with the owner, and you can go call the owner, and the two of you, if you get along over the phone, then maybe I'll have that boat sold." And I was like pretty impressed, actually, because the boat had basically just come in, and there it was, selling. And so then I get to know the boat, and what I find out is that Phil Berman and the Multihull Company had that boat for sale for like forever. And they kept trying to sell it and it didn't sell. This is a 92-foot cat. This is a big, expensive, multi-million-dollar machine. And their commission on this would be a big commission. Like, you know, you're talking enough, their commission would be enough to go buy a house. And so I'm thinking to myself, well, like, how did it not sell for so long? But, you know, and I thought to myself, and this new broker, who's not even like the big multi-hull broker and doesn't have himself as, you know, like, "I'm the multi-hull guy." He's just a broker, and he has put a sale together in a matter of weeks. And the boat had sat for what looked like, I don't know, a couple of years or something. I don't know how long. It looked like forever. The boat looked like it had been for sale for a long, long time, and the Multihull Company hadn't made the sale. And so I just kind of thought to myself at the time, well, you know, that's kind of weird, you know? Like, I'd be really bummed if I was the Multihull Company and I didn't sell the boat, and then somebody else comes in and just, bam, sells the boat. There it is. It's gone. Next. And I'd be kind of going, well, so what's wrong with the Multihull Company? Like, how come they didn't sell the boat? Like, doesn't that seem weird? But, I was just taking over the boat. So I took over the boat as captain, and my wife and I ran it for 5 years. We took it from Europe and across to the U.S. East Coast and through the Caribbean and back to the U.S. East Coast. I mean, I think we put about 30,000 miles on that boat. And lots and lots of charters, did a lot of work with the boat, and it was really a good boat. Well, then finally the owner comes along and he says, "Hey, you know, I've got to sell the boat." So anyway, long story short, the Multihull Company and Phil Berman gets the listing again. So this would have been like 2015. So okay, the boat's getting ready to sell, and so, all right, so we stick around for a while, but, you know, the boat's going to sell, and it's not going to do charters, and so we move on, and I was thinking, you know, it's time to retire, so we go to move off the boat. But before we did, we got everything on the boat up to scratch for selling. Every system was working, every piece of paper, every survey, everything was there and ready and on the dot, done. So what that means is that when somebody else comes in to look at the boat, every button that they push works. Every lever that they turn does what it's supposed to do. When they pick up all the paperwork is correct, and all the paperwork is up to date. Now, that's a big deal, right? You know, like keeping a boat in survey. Keeping a boat in survey is a lot of work. Like just that. A lot of boats have just that. These bigger yachts have just that one person. That's their whole job. And so the idea that all the boat was in survey and ready to go, that means a lot. It means a lot that the boat was at that condition, and therefore it was up for sale for, I don't know, it was like $5 million or something. So, and away we went. No big deal. Good luck. Hope the sale goes through. And we made up these 15 videos, and that's the rest of that story that goes on with these other bits. But now now I start watching, and a year goes by, and the boat hasn't sold, and another year goes by, and this is 2 years, and I'm thinking to myself, that's a long time to be paying dock fees and to be paying all those, because we put a new crew on the boat and all that, to be paying that crew. That's a lot of money outlay. Like, why isn't the boat selling? And I'm getting these emails from Phil, and they're just these like, why the boat isn't selling, and they're just these like sniveling, like, just why it's so hard to sell the boat type emails. And I'm like, look, the other guy sold the boat, is what I'm thinking to myself. I'm like, the other guy sold the boat, like, he sold the boat straight away, like, no big deal. And the Multihull Company isn't selling the boat. So now at the end of like 2 years or something, I'm saying, like, there's got to be a reason why this boat isn't selling. And I'm going and I'm looking at their webpage, and I realize that, like, the only way that they're really, to me, that I could find that they were trying to sell the boat was that they had it listed on their webpage. And they have this whole thing about, like, nobody else can advertise the boat because, we want the full 10% commission. And if somebody else gets the boat sailed, then they get 5% and we get 5%. And, I'm the big Multihull Company guy. And, so therefore it's, if anybody's going to sell the boat, it's me who sells the boat. I sell boats. It's like this, like, ego trip that's going on in the background of all this. And I'm getting these emails, and they're saying to me things like, oh, it's so hard to sell the boat. The operating costs are high, and it's not a gunboat, and a gunboat would sell, but this isn't a gunboat. And I'm thinking to myself, well, if you have a gunboat, you sell it to somebody who wants a gunboat. This isn't a gunboat. You got to find, like the other broker did. Now, like, I don't want to tell you how you do your job, but this other guy came in and said, who would be my clientele? And by that, he then went and found the sailor who had just sold his business, and he put the whole package together, and he just did it, and it worked. And so now 3 years, no, not sold. 4 years, not sold. Now at about 2.5 years into this or something, I'm going and I'm looking at the Multihull Company page, and I'm going, you haven't even linked to all these videos that we've made. Like, I made all these videos. Now all these videos that we made, like, I'm looking at my video count, and we're up at something like 500,000 views on these videos. And the Multihull Company is so, I don't know, is the word incompetent? That's what comes to mind. They're so lame that they haven't even linked the video on the page for the boat sale. And I'm looking at it, I'm going like your page that I wrote the text for is, it's okay, but it's nothing special. There's a whole process here when you go to sell a boat. You want the page to get the person to contact the broker, but that's a big step. So, in many ways you want to make the sale ahead of time, and that's why we made the videos. We wanted the page to get the person to look at the videos. We wanted the videos to get the person to contact me. We wanted me to talk the person up and get them all revved up on the boat. We wanted then the person revved up on the boat to contact the Multihull Company. And that was the plan. That was my plan anyway on selling the boat. And I had lots and lots of contacts on the boat, and we got lots of people revved up. But, like, they didn't even put the videos on their page. And I'm going like, guys, you got, you're looking at, I don't know, $500,000 that you're going to pull out of this sale as commission. Like, can't you at least get your IT guy to put these videos on your page? 5 years goes by, 6 years goes by. Imagine if that was you. You're paying dock fees for 6 years. The boat's deteriorating. You're paying your crew 6 years, and the boat still hasn't sold. I was flabbergasted. But, I'm out of the business. I'm retired now. And so, but I am watching it going, that is just kind of out of control. Like, what are these guys doing? Like, how are they not making a sale? Finally, sometime around December of 2021, something like that, finally the owner has just had enough. And he says, hey, look, this boat has to be open to anybody who wants to sell it. Like, you guys have not made the sale. You haven't gotten it done. It's time. Get this boat listed. Anybody who wants to list the boat can list it. And if you guys then, you guys will broker the selling side of it. So what if you only make 5%? 7 years into this, it's just too long for anybody to be trying to sell a boat. You guys are sitting there in last place in the game of selling boats. And, you're claiming you're the first place. You're claiming you're the best. But no, man, that is not happening. So anyway, so what happens? It goes out. Everybody else everybody else then can list the boat as if they are selling it. And what happens? This company in Australia, they took that boat, and what the first thing that they did? They put one of my videos. They put my best video below the sale page. And just as the whole plan had been, somebody saw that, they looked at the pictures, they said, oh, that's pretty cool. They looked at the video, they said, oh, that's pretty cool. That led them back to the YouTube page where they watched all 15 videos. They said, oh, that's pretty cool. Then they sent me an email and we talked on the phone, I don't know, like 20 hours on the phone or something, and boom, then they put in an offer. And that is how the whole sale was supposed to take place. And these guys couldn't even get the video on the sales page for the boat. Like, I mean, just how lame is that? Well, anyway, if it sounds like I'm frustrated because by the time that the boat sold, it sold for less than half of its original listing price, and I put that straight on the Multihull Company. If the boat was there, it was ready, it was in condition, it was in survey, all the paperwork was up, everything was done, and it should have sold at that point. And instead, what happened? It just sat, and rang up bills. Now, the owner was using the boat. They took it to the South Pacific. They took it back to Europe. I mean, that boat, it cruises along. It makes 250 miles a day regularly. It's no slouch. So I don't know how much faster you want to go by, getting the gunboat and all that. But anyway, 250 miles a day, those add up. When you're crossing an ocean and you're doing 250 miles a day, the days go by pretty quick. And the next thing you know, you're on the other side of the ocean. And so anyway, I didn't find any credence with all the reasons that the boat wasn't selling. I did find a lot of credence that it just looked like they put the boat on their website and said, if it sells, good. If it doesn't sell, well, oh well, it'll sit there. It'll sit there and, it just, I don't know. It amazed me. It amazed me. So that's why this is probably the most important video, because it's not about me and the Multihull Company. It's not about, look at all the lies and untruths and mistruths and misspeaks and, Phil Berman's not a broker, he's only a salesman, and this guy over here is covering for him, and is that trustworthy? It's none of that. It's just straight down. They had 3 boats. Did they sell them? No, they didn't sell them. And that's what I observed. That was my observation. And the third time that we were in there, I was right there watching, because I was in part of the sale and I was handling the phone calls and all that. And I expected that the boat would sell, and it didn't sell, and it didn't sell, and it didn't sell. And I put that squarely on the Multihull Company. Dare I say incompetence? Was it incompetence? Well, it certainly wasn't a home run winning streak, I'll tell you that. It certainly wasn't like I gave the boat to the Multihull Company and they handled my problem and away it went. It was more like I handed my boat to the Multihull Company, and the next thing I know, I'm out a couple $1 million, and the boat, and I've got years of excess costs on this boat, and that was my observation. And so I put that out there as probably the most important video of them all, because if you don't do your job, if you don't get the boat sold, then everybody's at a loss, and that's what I'm putting up there, and that's kind of how I want to end this whole video series. Was not a he said, she said, look at this email that said that, but did they get the job done? Did the Multihull Company get the job done? And if they did, then really all the rest of that is kind of minor. But no, they didn't get the job done. They fell on their face 3 times in a row, fumbled the ball 3 times in a row, lost the game 3 times in a row. This is a big deal. There's a lot of money out of somebody's pocket. And if I was selling a boat, it would be out of my pocket, and I wouldn't be happy about that at all. And I would be looking back on how these guys did, and I would be saying they didn't do very good. As a matter of fact, they did really poorly. So that was my observation. I hope who's ever doing business with them comes out better than what we saw here. Okay, guys, that's I'm going to try to leave it there and make that the end of the cycle. I'm going to mark this as the most important video. And thanks for sticking with me. Thanks for sticking with me through all these videos. And I appreciate you guys. And stay safe out there.